Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 21 of the anime series Arslan Senki, or the Heroic Legend of Arslan. And this one was a little bit bittersweet for me in seeing sort of the leaving of Giev, at least for the time being. But he's kind of the sacrificial lamb in Narcissus' plan to answer to, the fighting that is going on amongst the Parsian factions, most notably Zarevant and Tus. They are representative of really wanting to show Arslan, their highness, sort of the prowess they wield, their strengths and their skills and everything like that. And they're really chomping at the bit, and they just do not like having to sort of, by proxy answer to Jeswant and answer to Giev and, this group of weird people, as they kind of consider them, that, Arslan has surrounded himself with. So as one sort of final step, Narcissus comes up with this idea, concocts this idea to ally them before basically having to leave for this oncoming war. And the sacrificial lamb, as I say, is Giev. We have this very interesting confrontation with Isfan, who is the brother of the cat, back when Boden had captured this guy, and we saw that Giev was the one who fired the arrow to take his life, instead of letting him suffer at the hands of the torture that Boden and his religious faction, the Templar Knights, or whatever you want to call them, would have put forth and done to him, and had already been doing to him. And of course, Isfan not necessarily knowing the entire story, or at least being under, just the nerve of Giev, for Giev to kind of be like, well, you should be grateful that I did what I did, and there's just this crescendo confrontation between them that is only then stopped by Ferengis. And you have Arslan basically putting on a show of it, as manipulated by Narcissus, because they have that other guy stepping in. Now, Narcissus can dedicate his entire time to the military strategizing that is his, forte in the approach of this oncoming war. But first, you need all of your troops to be on the same page, and this is the unifying factor. By Arslan coming to the fore and saying, Giev, you are now out. You are outcast. You're banished. This is the motivating factor. When they see, Arslan ain't playing around. If you get on his bad side, you're gone. And so, of course, this force does go on the move the next day. And you still have this trio. It's kind of like, at least to my estimation, the Parsian equivalent of like the three amigos. You got Zarevant, Tus, and Isfan. And all three of them have their own little sort of groups that they are commanding, and they're leading off to one side. And of course, it gets the better of them, the idea of challenging, each other, competitive nature between each other. But also they find a sort of mini stronghold along this highway, as they call it, of the Lusitanian forces. So they're like, we're going to go take them out. We're going to show, and we're going to use this to prove to Arslan how tough and badass we are, and how effective we are. Of course, they end up befalling a rock slide that was set up as a trap, and they get trapped and everything. And Arslan, being the benevolent leader that he is, making proud Daryun and Narcissus and even Kishward, he's like, no, we're going to stop here. We're not going to keep going and marching on Lusitania and everything, and a sort of holy sanctuary that is on the way to Ecbatana, which they want to overtake as well. He's like, no, we're going to stop right here. We'll get a party together, and we'll go save those guys. Idiots though they may be. They are still very necessary to our, whole process, our whole battle process. And this only after basically sending in Alfred and Elam to try to figure out where they are, and they can't find them. And then you hear the message oncoming from the breeze, from the Jinn, as Brangus says, those guitar picks, sort of angling the location of these guys. And of course it is Giev, and I love that at least Isfan, I don't know if he could tell that was Giev up at that mountaintop. He looked up there, he knew someone up there was watching over them. I don't know if he could actually tell that was Giev. But the whole point that Giev, this was his sort of final act of kindness before setting out on his semi-official mission that Narcissus has given him to go find somebody, as Narcissus puts it, that will be a key ingredient into Arslan's ascending the throne. I have to guess this is probably going to be somebody like, Andragoras or something along those lines. Somebody who is the current head of PARS or the former head of PARS, whatever you want to see it, unless there's some other sort of, person involved in indoctrination or something. I don't know exactly how that would work. But Andragoras was the first thought I had, that, Narcissus was sending Geeb to go find the location of and everything, because they had been trying to scout him out before. Narcissus and Daryun had, snuck into Ecbatana, had their asses practically handed to them by Silver Mask Hermes, and so they had to be on the run. They had to hightail it, and they never really found out where he was. But of course we know, as we see in this episode, that Kubard is actually on his way toward Peshawar. He's, seeking to team up effectively with Arslan's faction. At least that seems to be the case, because he's taking out Lusitanians or former Parsians that are still working for Hermes and everything, who were sent on his tail by Xandes. And so that is hopeful, but that could also yield, maybe he has information as to the whereabouts of Andragoras and can pinpoint that, along the journey a little more fluidly, a little more effectively. Whatever the case being, of course, this battle is now about to happen. The next episode promises it's the night before battle, and there's going to be a lot on Arslan's shoulders to have to weigh in, especially with, sort of that post-credits little sequence with, Silver Mask saying he has something set up. He's got something set up in the midst of this, to be the sort of playing field upon which he and Arslan will come head-to-head, finally. And just to see that the Lusitanians, though there was infighting going on there, and they're not, they're kind of falling apart at the seams to a certain degree, with Geesgard basically being like, I'm only going to use Silver Mask as long as I need him, and then he's out, With all of those kinds of situations, these people are not dumb. They are master manipulators, and even though it will probably fall out from under them because they're not as master manipulating as Narcissus, for example, it's going to be interesting to see just how all this comes together, how it all culminates. And I assume Arslan will win the day, but not without having to get into the thick of it. I think we will finally see, Arslan himself having to become chief amongst actually, the physicality of it, actually having to go up against Silver Mask and maybe even fighting him. And it just promises to be epic in scope, and I hope it lives up to that, at least my estimation of it. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 21 of Arslan Senki, if you've seen it, if you enjoyed it as much as I did. If not, why not? Let me know in the comments below. Love having the conversation with you guys. We can agree to disagree, anything goes, and so yeah, otherwise that'll be pretty much it for me on this. I hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.